Hey guys, welcome to Top 5 Niches of the Week, the original print-on-demand niches show. It's episode 271. I've got a great episode where I'm going to help you increase your print-on-demand sales by giving you 5 niches to target in the near future. Let's get right to it. So let's look at the top 10 organic bestsellers after filtering out the protected brands. We have some back to school. We have some strawberry kawaii style shirts, some axolotls, some cats, a couple more cats. Actually, about half the top 5 are cat related. Baseball shirt, and then behind me, a penguin shirt. All right, moving on to niche number 1. Niche number 1, I used the Merch Dominator web app, which uses bots essentially, because no human could do this realistically, looks at recently submitted Amazon merch shirts, and then looks at have they sold? Okay, both these data points Amazon makes available to us. And that's how I came across this trending niche. It says, if I ever get rabies, you're high on my biting list. Now, in terms of BSR, which you can see down here, that's the bestseller rank. That's essentially an indicator, a relative indicator of how well these products are selling relative to other products in this category, which would essentially be the same category for all Amazon merch t-shirts. It's a good indicator at a minimum. If you're looking at recently uploaded products, all of these were uploaded on August 1st, by the way, of emerging trends. And instead of you having to somehow stumble upon them by chance, you're getting automation that works while you're sleeping so that you can log in the next day to the Merch Dominator web app and get served these trends on a silver platter with minimal effort. That's why it's niche number 1. If I ever get rabies, you're high on my biting list. I don't know why it's trending. I don't need to know. I know that merely that it is a trend. And if you are on top of them, that's a great way to set yourself apart and get quick, easy sales without having to jump into the back to school niche and being, every upload you create is one of 10 million, you know what I mean, that are trying to get indexed on back to school. Very broad, very valuable keywords. Like, just step back, be realistic for 10 seconds. Where do you have a higher likelihood of making sales? Being one of 10 million in back to school? Now, of course, you can niche down. There's strategies you can do. There's plenty of strategies you can do to sell in back to school. Or jump on a brand new emerging trend like this with minimal competition on a relative basis and make your first sale within 24 hours, as these guys did, by the way. So don't quote me because I'm a talking head on YouTube. We're actually looking at people that did it. That's why I can say it's possible, because I took a picture here of 5 of them. There's many more than just these. These are just a few. These are all in a row too. Made it real easy for me. So niche number 1, if I ever get rabies, you're high on my biting list. Moving on to niche number 2. X is my jam, where X can be a variable. Okay, so we've got Jesus is my jam, and I'm here to spread it. Reading is my jam. Literacy is my jam, and I'm here to spread it. Inclusion is my jam. Jesus is my jam. Jesus is my jam. This is just a nice example of an evergreen. And the reason that it actually popped up on my radar was in the back to school context. So as I was just talking about how it might be hard to compete on really broad keywords like back to school, well, there are back to school shirts sub-niched in the is my jam sub-niche, cross-niched with back to school, that are selling. For instance, look at this one right here. Preschool is my jam. BSR, 188,000. That's really good. That's daily sales on average. It's not like a surefire thing because the BSR is constantly updating. But if you're around, less than 200K, you might be making like 1 sale a day. Now, BSR also fluctuates. So if we're talking about BSR in early August, a BSR of 188,000 in early August is not the same as a BSR in terms of how many sales it represents when compared to November or December, when a lower BSR is probably 3 or 4 times as many sales, just because more sales are taking place on Amazon, okay? Anyways, preschool is my jam. Event planning is my jam. That has a review on it too, and it's $19.99 price point, so love that. Inclusion is my jam. First grade is my jam. Nutrition is my jam. Second grade is my jam. Second grade is my jam again. Art is my jam. So you can even get into like the topics that people study in school. So hopefully this is getting the creative juices flowing, that you can still sell in the big niches, but it's awesome when you have an evergreen, it's almost like its own niche, because is my jam is a niche, but it's almost like a vehicle to allow you into the big calendar niches while simultaneously setting yourself apart and giving you some longer tail keywords to associate with the primary niche. Like, I wouldn't call realistically is my jam the niche. If it's art is my jam, then someone's typing in like art t-shirt. If it's second grade is my jam, the primary keyword is second grade. You get what I'm saying? But this is a nice vehicle to get in there. And by the way, if you're like, okay, I get it, Ryan, thank you. But how the heck am I going to design shirts like this? Well, thank you for asking. Creative Fabrica for $3.99 a month. If you use my link in the description, gives you access to a ton of graphics, fonts, AI tools. The Shape Cloud Builder is one of my favorite. $3.99 a month. That's like one sale. You know what I mean? You make one sale, you cover your subscription. If you want to check that out, is linked below. I only typed in the word jam and you see all these different graphics that you could use. And then also I typed in strawberry in case you were going with the strawberry jam, because some of those designs, if you go back up, I really like these more muted kind of pastel designs. And by the way, whoever made these, they obviously scaled it out. So they didn't just do preschool. They did first grade, second grade, third grade, fourth grade. Then they uploaded it again, not only on a black shirt with the dark colors, but they also did it here on the light colors. I love doing that. Yes, it requires a few more upload slots. The longer you've been on Amazon merch and the more sales you have, the more upload slots you get. That should be something you aspire to do. Whoever did those designs, I think did a great job, and it makes a lot of logical sense, the approach that they took. So anyways, Creative Fabrica, that'll help get your designs going. So really no excuses. One thing you can't do, guys, you cannot cut corners with designs. You just cannot do that. All right, moving on to niche number 3. Before we get to niche number 3, I have a free print-on-demand mini course that I'll deliver to you via email, linked below if you want to take advantage. And I have a print-on-demand Facebook group if you want to check that out, linked below. Niche number 3, again, I'm looking at Merch Dominator. I'm looking at trends. I noticed I survived the great Hawaii tsunami of 2025. Now, I'm completely unplugged from the news. I'm assuming that this tsunami did not happen. If it did, I would say stay away from this niche. But the fact that there's multiple brand new designs being posted with BSRs implies that, well, I'm guessing, because again, you're not supposed to capitalize on human tragedy on Amazon merch. So I'm just assuming that there was no tsunami and nobody died. But if I'm incorrect, please let me know and do your own research. Again, I am a mere talking head on a screen. You should protect your seller accounts. Now, also, everywhere you're selling has different rules. So Amazon merch has by far the strictest rules. That's where you got to be the most careful. Amazon Seller Central, a lot more lenient. Etsy, a lot more lenient. eBay, the most lenient. Okay, so just understand that as well. It all depends on like where you're selling. There's context. So here's a couple more. A lot of these graphics, I'm guessing, were created using AI. If I had to venture a guess, I don't have a way of really proving that. Either way, just take a step back. If you do enter this niche, look at the designs that were recently created, recently uploaded, and recently sold, and make sure your designs are somewhat on the level. Because if you underperform the baseline, I'm showing you 9 different shirts here. Consider this the baseline. If you upload designs that you tried really hard to make and you're proud of because it's good for you, but it underperforms this baseline, your expectation of sales has to be reduced, if that makes sense. And it's not me making it about you. That's not my intention. I'm only giving this as an example, right? Like the designs, they have to be good enough. They have to be at least as good as what you're seeing here. This is also why if I was going to enter this niche, notice how every design of these 9 are relatively similar. What I would do is say, hey, how can I make this my own? I'd do a text-only version. I would, probably add a few Hawaiian elements, whether it's just a color scheme or maybe some, I always think of the leis that you get, those flower necklaces when you go to Hawaii. I haven't been to Hawaii in over 20 years at this point, but man, it was amazing when I went back in the day. I would put those elements, but really it would be a text-based design. What I wouldn't put would be the tsunami wave because, every other design has it. How can I very easily set myself apart? And it is a tsunami themed shirt, so of course it makes sense to have the tsunami wave. I get that. But easy way to set yourself apart, text-based. Obviously Hawaii, they've got color schemes, they've got little elements you could sprinkle in. That's how I would do it. All right, moving on, niche number 4. 107 days. So I guess there's a book coming out. I had to Google it. For Kamala Harris and her presidential campaign. 107 days. If that's what it is, that's what it is. Here's the only thing. If the book is called 107 days, I'm looking at the shirts. They say 107 days in the design. They say it in the title. As of me recording this, I'm quite confident it's probably just fine for you to sell. But if one day, all of a sudden, they start taking these down because the SEO matches the name of the book, and that could be perceived as potential copyright infringement by an algorithm. You get what I'm saying? I'm not saying this will happen. I'm just saying theoretically, if it did, that would also make sense. So these are the types of designs that if I were to personally sell, which I don't do on my merch account because in the high tier, there's no need to, right? I don't need to be in these trends. I can just sell evergreens all day. If I was going to do it, I would get in and get out. I would have an exit plan. You know what I mean? Just because it's not worth it. Like also, you know how you can go to Google Trends and you can literally type in any phrase and you'll see a spike. Then usually when something's not trending anymore, you know, the media tour that I'm guessing she's probably on, like there's a reason why it's probably trending, right? When that media tour ends, the interest will fall off. Why would you keep this selling? You know what I mean? You might make like a few more sales, a handful, but on a relative basis, you'll make significantly less. Just remove it from your account. All right. And this is not me saying, oh yeah, it's copyright infringement, but it's okay if you get in and get out. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying if the book is called 107 Days, that does not mean that you can't ever again, for the rest of human history, put the string of words 107 days on a shirt. You get what I'm saying? It just, well, I was talking about it in the context of the algorithm could get confused and pretty much always err on the side of caution because in this unique circumstance with Amazon merch, the shirts are sold by Amazon. So who's the target? If somebody decides to sue them, Amazon would theoretically be the target. Amazon doesn't want that. So they err on the side of caution. That's my logic. Hopefully it made sense. Here's a few more. So there's at least 10 of these shirts. By the way, this is another new trend. So if you're like, Ryan, how are you finding these trends? Like you don't even watch TV. Thank you for asking. Again, Merch Dominator. You log in, you click MBA/KDP, you sort by newest. So now it's looking at the newest submissions that have sold. If it hasn't sold, they don't show it to you because guys, there's no signal if something hasn't sold. There's no signal there. If something was uploaded yesterday and it has sold, that is a very strong signal. I know I talked about this earlier, but just trying to make this clear. Like if your sales are stagnant and you're like, it's like easy for people to want to make excuses about why it's not fair and this and that. It's like, no, but like, what are you checking everything off the list that you can do to give yourself an edge? And if not, this is just one thing you can do. I'm just talking to you about it at least, you know? So I'll put my link to Merch Dominator in the description if you want to check it out. I used it last year. I made easily no less than $50,000 profit using it last year. It was a lot easier last year with the political niche, which by the way, what are we talking about right here? Oh yeah, the political niche. So it's a great way to find those emerging trends if you're like me and completely unplugged from the whole mainstream apparatus, basically. I'm not interested in that. All right, niche number 5. Here we go. Tomfoolery. What the heck, Ryan? What is tomfoolery? Well, I saw a couple trending shirts that said the word tomfoolery. So I just looked up tomfoolery shirt on Amazon and found a lot of these funny, kind of cute graphics. You know, this one right here behind me, little kawaii style frog with a witch hat. I'm not familiar with the niche and if it's a reference to like a TV show. So always do your own research, guys. But just the word, the phrase tomfoolery and tomfoolery shirt has some search interest associated with it on Amazon. It has a pretty, not like a very 100% like this is the lane, this is the style, but it has a pretty interesting, you know, there's hints basically. Like if I'm seeing this niche for the first time, how am I going to go about selling it? Well, I see some raccoons, I see some frogs with hats, and then off to commit tomfoolery seems to be the phrase, the text associated with these designs. So if I was going to jump into this niche, by the way, look at the BSRs, 260,000, 340,000, 315,000, 500,000, and behind me, 900,000. Pretty good BSRs. And as I've talked about, if you've been watching these episodes for the last month, we're kind of at a lull with the niches, right? We know things pick up towards the back half of the year. You could be theoretically prepping for Halloween. Like I always laugh because I see YouTubers talking about Halloween. And it's like, you can do that. There's nothing wrong with that. But that is like the ultimate form of delayed gratification. And it's not that you can't be uploading for things that are 3 or 4 months away. It's just go to google.com/trends and look at the search interest. I mean, there's nobody really looking for that stuff yet. I mean, when I say nobody, obviously like the closer you get, the more it slopes upwards. But what Google Trends is great at is showing you on a relative basis where we're at versus where we will be based on historical data. And if we're at like 5% of the peak, 5%, that means you have a 1/20th less chance on a relative basis of making a sale that you would have otherwise had just by waiting a little bit. That's all I'm saying. So anyways, you get to pick your flavor. It's print on demand. Here's some more tomfoolery shirts. BSRs now are above 1 million, but still, I'm cool with above 1 million BSR. That's called evergreen to me. You know what I mean? I lock in a few sales here and there throughout the year. I'm all about that. All right, emerging trends. These are all shirts where their current BSR is outperforming their 90-day average. What do you notice? We talked about the Kamala stuff. It's a resurgence of the Kamala shirts from last year. Even the, Harris 2024, people are buying those shirts and wearing them in 2025. Hey, why not, right? If we're selling the shirts, that's a beautiful thing. Looking ahead, smaller holidays, at least a month out. September 3rd is Skyscraper Day. September 4th, Newspaper Carrier Day. Do they even deliver newspapers anymore like that? September 5th, Cheese Pizza Day. September 6th, World Beard Day. September 6th, also National Tailgating Day. All right, let's look at the archive. These were selling well 23 months ago. We didn't go back 11 months to last year because it was all political stuff, even though that actually might have served us well today, actually. But we're going back 23 months. What do we see? Back to school. Some Halloween stuff is waking up. So maybe I spoke too soon there about the Halloween. I see a few. Viva Mexico. And then some evergreens. Chance of Sarcasm. And then it's got the weather. I may be old, but I got to see all the cool bands. So don't do stuff like this, by the way. Referencing the band Kiss. Would not do that. All right, removed designs. Let's bring it home. These were all removed in the last 24 hours. If you're selling anything similar, just rethink that, all right? Be careful, right? Safety first with your print on demand. It is a long-term business model, long time horizon. Set yourself up to be making money 5 years from now based on the work you do today. That's the best way to think about it. All right, guys, thank you for watching. Speaking of setting yourself up for success down the line, I have a full print on demand course. I've been selling print on demand for over 8 years. If you want to check out my course, it is linked below. And if you have any questions, just let me know. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe on your way out, and I'll see you soon with another new video.